This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 27th of August, 2019, and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. Let's take a look at today's headlines. The Star, DP RUTO pressure forces Jubilee to face Raila in Kibera. The Standard, 80 top KRA staff face arrest in second raid. And Daily Nation, 1.2 billion shillings crude sale puts Kenya in oil-rich club. Let's start here. Positive headlines. Always love a bit of positivity about our country. We are now an oil-rich country.
For how long?
I don't think we
for
are.
how long?
I don't think we are.
Let's just celebrate the money, guys.
But I think, and I want to congratulate President Uhuru Kenyatta for some foresight here.
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows we don't have enough oil to make money from.
Most definitely, yeah.
Right?
So what are we doing? Post sharing.
What we are doing is this. We are putting in place links, infrastructure linkages, all right, that will link us to global markets. Now, he knows very well Uganda has more oil than us that can last for about over 300 years. Our oil can only last us 25 years, so can South Sudan. But if you're to bring all that oil together and create an oil exchange in this country, what does that mean for the Kenyan economy? I think it's brilliant.
More money.
More money for us.
And I think we can always applaud someone who has foresight. Dubai didn't have much oil. Someone had to think about what do we do when the oil runs out.
Absolutely.
So if we can think about what we do when the oil runs out, the better.
Absolutely.
I applaud it.
Yeah.
In fact,
Absolutely.
I say we put it in the parking bay.
Yes.
I agree. I think it's a fantastic story.
Yes.
But before we put it in the parking bay, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines for you. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Is the headline topical, or is it speculative? Is it repetitive, or is it groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy?
I think so far it's ticking all the positive boxes.
It's ticking all them.
I like it.
And
So
look, we're used to corruption and seeing Haji's face here. Now we can see there's a crude.
Whose face is that on? Whose face is that on the Standard?
In fact, I was just waiting for him to finish that I can say. Please take a look at Haji. 80 KRA staff face arrest in second raid. This is part 2, the drama, the sequel. It continues.
You know, I think Haji had us last week. We said, if you're going to evade taxes worth 41 billion shillings, that is 8 billion shillings a year, or you're going to evade taxes worth 14 billion shillings, then you and then you arrest the people who have evaded taxes and don't arrest KRA officials, then there's a problem. But then what he's also doing is this. Haji is going to expose the rotten government.
Hold on, before you get into that rotten government, I think we need some background on what the story is trying to tell us.
So here's the thing. DPP Nurdun Haji is going for 80 top KRA officials. So he's investigated managers, he's investigated commissioners. Before,
and I remember that we had a big roundup of 62 junior officers before.
Is there anyone left in KRA?
I wonder.
Who will be collecting taxes now?
I can do it, it's all right.
By the way, we can.
2J offering her CV.
That's a good point.
All right, finish the story.
Yes, and now he's gone for 80 KRA officials, including mid-level managers and commissioners. And what he's trying to say is these are the guys that have been helping big businesses in this country to evade taxes. And I'm like, you're going for 80 people. You must zero in on a couple of, there must be 5 or 6 or 7.
I feel like the sweep one is
cast
too large.
a wide net.
They really cast a very wide net, which I don't think is good for the institution. For this reason, it's destabilizing to the institution. And 2, it's destabilizing to government in general. Because that says that if there's even a hint of corruption in your ministry, they're coming for about 100 of you. You can't operate like that. You can't operate like that. The fear, the rumor mongering, and also remember, we'll bring back another headline. There was a point at which they were saying that they were using security officers, that spies within the agency. So if you have spies, shouldn't that help you narrow down to the number of people that you need instead of casting?
I think this is a bad precedent to set because 1, it's showing a lack of confidence in a government institution, and 2, it's exposing the government for very badly. We do not know how much of this is true, and if it is, I think they should sort it out first before they start splashing headlines
and
that make people worry.
Is 80 plus 62 plus how many other raids they will do? I don't know. If what you're trying to tell us about KRA.
For negativity,
toss it.
Absolutely.
Finally, DP RUTO pressure forces Jubilee to face Raila in Kibera. Too many words, guys.
Guys, I saw this fiasco yesterday and I asked myself, are they this careless? But then I thought and I flipped it and I said, maybe someone is having a scheme.
Right.
And here's a
what
scheme.
I'd like you to know, what I'd like you to do is lift that veil of ignorance.
Wow.
I come here for you to break it down for me and lift that veil and show me what's going on in the back,
And I'm
the machine.
just about to do that.
Okay, do it.
You see, here's the thing. What if Uhuru Kenyatta's plan is this? Let's field a candidate, okay? What's the worst that could happen? Lose, in any case, it was ODM seat. And even then it happens, maybe Raila will say, I'm undermining the handshake, you know, but that can only go so far. But second thing is this. If Uhuru Kenyatta doesn't post, or Jubilee doesn't post a candidate in Kibera, in Kibera, and some funny candidate from a funny party like ANC wins, then the public would ask, what were you so scared of? You would have gotten the Jubilee seat.
So you're damned if you do it, damned if you don't.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
But if you do it,
then
you don't say you did it.
Absolutely.
You give yourself
You
plausible
point the
deniability.
fingers.
Absolutely. And then think about it this way. Just what if a guy called McDonald Maringa wins an election in Kibera? Then Uhuru Kenyatta has the impetus to tell Raila, look, I have come to your place, I have won, and now
You're not as strong as you thought you
You're not as strong as you thought you are.
And we have to say this, the Mariga brothers do stand a good chance of winning. They have very good social capital
Yes, absolutely.
in their family.
I like your flip to him. So you're suggesting that maybe it is not DP putting pressure on Raila, but there are forces
but
around.
But then I must admit, that wasn't really my idea.
At least you're not a smack.
Stole it.
All right. I think that one, for the wordy headline, and also two,
because we added the wonderful story and the speculation behind
it.
it.
Give the analysis.
Toss it.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Does that make our positive story that we sold
Yes.
summer oil our winning headline?
Very good.
I think so.
support this.
And we have a winning headline from the Daily Nation.
Yes.
On to our next segment, the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Just like the headlines, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break them down for you. We ask ourselves, is the cartoon humorous or is it dry? Is it satirical or is it pessimistic? And finally, is it effective or just plain lazy?
Gado.
I like that you began there.
Yes.
Because I'm bored out of my mind.
I mean, same here. But let's describe it first before board upsets him. It's a drawing of KDF, and they play the theater of play is Somalia, and next to them is federal government of Somalia, I think soldiers, and I have seen Al-Shabaab, they are here, but they are pointing at a hole. The Kenyan one points, no, they went in here, and then there's nothing. And then the AU peacekeeping force says, trust me, they're in this hole.
Yeah, so the context here is that there was an attack that happened on Wednesday in southern Somalia, and I think what Gado is trying to tell us is that nobody knows what they're doing.
And
that's actually true.
These are guys who are meant to leave Somalia, I think, by 2020.
And sometimes I say this with cartoons, sometimes you're so obvious that you tell me something that I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
This yo-yo, toss it.
I think Gado is working with the census people.
Oh, wow. I've still not been counted, in case anyone was wondering.
Don't worry, we have until Friday. If by Friday you come here and you say that, we know who the shadow people in the gas cartoon are.
All right. Whoa, caricature. Ndula. There's a caricature of Baba himself, and this time he's a heavyweight boxer, and he's on a corner. On his corner, heavyweight boxer, and on his corner is James Orengo, the guy with the towel, and the coach is
pepping him up.
Yes, Uhuru Kenyatta, and he's telling him, "Remember, my legacy is at stake." And on his right, imagine on the right, which is a very good position in boxing, is the governor of Kirinyaga.
With the water.
And Anwe Ganjo. And she has the water. And
what does he have on his belt?
On his belt is BBI, but all his shorts are color red.
So who can we assume is on the other end of this ring?
None other than the color singer himself.
I don't think it's funny.
I don't know. Is that not who?
It's probably RUTO with Punguza Mzigo. Yes. And
I love his posture. He looks like he's ready to fight. He's confident in his ability to fight the race.
Yes.
This is a heavyweight champion. He's been here before.
Yes.
This is what? How many referendums down the road? Right. We can do this.
To see in boxing, you can see some sweat has already spilled here, meaning they've gone 2-3 rounds. Correct? And by the time the coach is telling you, remember, my legacy is at stake, it tells you who could be winning.
Hey.
All right.
Put it in the pocket.
Let's look at what Ozone has
guys,
first today.
Wow.
Today, I have to congratulate
Ozone
Ozone.
has actually left me speechless. When I saw it, I cried a little bit from laughter.
Okay, now I am.
Please describe.
Please describe it.
Let's describe it. And they will sense of just from Ezekiel Mutua's ears.
Oh, true.
Oh,
Yes.
please, Santa.
Yeah. Drawing of Mr. Baberman. And he's in his orange shirt. And
The chair he's sitting on is labeled.
Is labeled Kibera. And there are all manner of babies kissing his.
Babies, there's one here who's a bit
Yeah.
coy.
It's the one who's coy. There's one licking his shoes. Actually, two.
Yeah.
There's one who's blowing kisses. And the caption is, you know what? I don't- oh my God.
That's what they said there. It's not me. It's the
Oh my
caption.
goodness, it's fantastic.
I think it's hilarious.
It's beautiful.
I think that for once the caption is precise.
Yes, exactly. It was
says
necessary.
just enough.
But let's give this context, guys.
Okay.
Over the weekend, on Sunday, Raila attended, curiously, attended a rally in Kibera with his daughter. And he was, I think, unveiling the new guys who are going to run in Kibera on an ODM ticket. And there was a guy called Chris Darling. And Chris Darling, in front of everybody, went on his knees and asked for Baba's blessings so that he can be chosen as the ODM candidate. Now, everyone was like, how do you kneel before a man? Now, everybody else will be kneeling before him, you know. Now, I don't know whether the kneeling will be Wamla.
Sorry, I'm hearing your story. I'm looking at the picture. It's
It's
fantastic.
fantastic. I think that today Ozone gave the better cartoon.
And this is one day I'm not even going to fight you guys. I'm going to declare it loud and proud. Ozone.
This is on you.
You have the winning cartoon. You have the winning cartoon of the week.
I love it. Winning cartoon from Ozone of the Star.
We will give it to him.
What is our final thought?
You guys will love it.
We will love the final thought.
Yes.
Okay.
And now, our final thought. Inspired by the history of forks and potatoes.
I forgot to bring you something.
Yes. And see that
Have your food, please.
in case I did not pronounce it right, is fork, Homa, and potato.
Waru.
Julie,
Fantastic.
you want to tell us this history?
Yeah, I know that this week we're talking about a lot of interesting things. But today we're going to talk about the fork and the potatoes because these are two things that you might not know that were initially rejected.
Yeah.
But that now we
can't
realize
live
that we
without.
can't live without them.
We really can.
So I think we'll start with the history of the potato.
Yes.
Okay.
So potatoes for the longest time, for thousands and thousands of years, were only found in South America.
Yes.
And they were only found in the 16th century when the Spaniards left Europe to go fight the Incas in South America.
Yeah.
And so they fought them, they killed them, and then they found this curious vegetable and they
Yeah.
said, what is it?
Yeah.
And because they were taking back a lot of things, they said, you know what, let's take this back with us and we'll see what we can do with it.
Right.
So at the same time, in the 17th and 18th century, you have famine being prevalent in Europe.
Yes.
So you have a lot of people dying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the staple food that they relied on were cereal grains. So
Yes.
you have wheat, barley, and oats.
Yes.
And the thing about these cereal grains is that they take about 10 months to grow, to mature.
Yeah.
And also they're not very calorically dense.
Yes.
So you can eat lots and you have to eat a lot in order for it to make you full.
Yes.
The potato, on the other hand, they found that it takes 3 to 4 months to
Yes.
mature.
Yes.
And with that amount of acreage,
Yeah.
it can get you full very fast.
It also is a very easy plant to grow.
Yeah, it
Unlike
doesn't
your wheat
require
and grains
much.
that requires you to keep on checking on them and going and checking on and making sure that they go well and you weed them.
Yeah.
Potato, just put it in the ground and leave it to itself.
And
And
it takes care of itself. So it's a very useful vegetable.
Absolutely.
So they come back from from Latin America, and they try to present it to the world. And they say, here is this vegetable that we have. We think it will be good for you.
Yes.
And there's uproar.
Yeah.
So the Christians say,
Yeah.
you cannot eat this because it was not in the Bible.
Yes, you
Yes.
can't find
They
a
said,
potato in the
as long
Bible.
as this thing is not in the Bible, we cannot eat it.
Yes.
The doctors say it looks like leprosy. And
Yes.
so they used to believe back in the day that what you eat
Yeah.
is what
Gives you
will
what
give you.
disease.
Exactly. So if you eat a potato, because it looks like leprosy,
Leprosy,
you
you
will
get
get
leprosy.
leprosy.
Yeah.
And so for the longest time, the potato is rejected, which is quite sad.
Yeah.
Then around 1620, this man by the name of Augustine Parmentier, he is jailed in a prison.
Yeah.
And he's jailed in a prison in France.
Yes.
And the only food that they give him is potatoes.
Yes.
So day in, day out, this guy's eating potatoes,
Yes.
on and on and on.
Yes.
And he thought
leaves-
he'd die.
He did think he would die. And he leaves the prison and he realizes, I'm actually doing okay. My body is fine. I lived off this diet of potatoes for almost 4 years and I'm okay.
Yeah.
So he decides to, have this crusade, this campaign for the potato. So they actually call him the promoter of the potato. And so he starts to host these dinner parties where he would serve all versions of potatoes, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, sliced potatoes.
Yeah.
And he has these guests, very famous guests, who come to his house to eat these potatoes. One of them being Benjamin Franklin.
Yes.
And so as he starts to promote the potato, eventually it starts to become normal.
Yes, absolutely.
And people are like, okay, maybe this is something useful.
They also discovered something, as he made these experiments, these recipes and trying to figure out the best way to cook the potato, something that we do today all the time. He discovered that if you take a potato, you slice it and you put it in oil, it comes out as this amazing thing that we still eat today as chips or French fries.
Yes.
So much so that if you look at the history of Ireland, I think you had some of those numbers.
Absolutely.
That a few...
So in 1660, the population of Ireland was 560,000. And then
they're introduced to the potato.
Yes. And then 120 years later, about 17 something or 18 something, the population of Ireland went to 9 million people.
Exactly.
Because of Waru.
Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, it's showing to you how this potato, as a thing that was so rejected, they're using doctors, they're using the Bible to justify how horrible of a thing it is, eventually becomes something that quadruples the population of a country and becomes a staple food across the world.
Absolutely.
And so now I think we look at
the fork, which has a similar history.
Yes.
2M, do you want to take us through that?
Can I read you a poem about the fork?
Yes, read it.
Because I think as we're going with the potato, we're talking about the fork as another thing that was rejected. So this is a poem that was written about the fork.
Yes.
This strange thing must have crept right out of hell. It resembles a bird's foot, worn around the cannibal's neck. As you hold it in your hand, as you stab it into a piece of meat, it is possible to imagine the rest of the bird. Its head, which like your fist, is large, bald, beakless, and blind.
Wow. Even I have one about the knife.
Oh, you also have a poem?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, go for it.
My poem was called The Fork. Yours is called?
The knife.
All
right.
And just like earlier on, I stole it. I'm going to read it.
Go for it.
I eat my peas with honey. I have done it all my life. It makes peas taste funny, but it keeps them on the knife.
All right.
But let me give you the story of forks. So this beautiful Venetian princess, and her name was Maria Gozina. And in 1004, this lady shows up at a palace, and she shows up with 2 golden knives.
2 golden forks.
2 golden forks. And there's all manner of steak there and grapes.
But you also have to be very careful. The fork, I think at that time, did not look the way it looks the way we see it now.
It looked like
kind of looks like
2 prongs.
2 prongs, kind of like what we call a carving fork now, where you stick into a piece of meat so that you can be able to cut it.
Absolutely, like you're grilling steaks.
Yeah, precisely.
Right? So this girl just, she had what they call the rituals of delicacy. So she takes her fork and she eats it like this. She takes the steak and her vegetables and she eats. And she has all the maringo in the world. Then everybody around her table looks at her and says, oh, what ostentatious behavior. This is decadent behavior. Us guys normally eat with knives. And then there comes a plague. And she dies from the plague. And they think the gods must have punished her because of eating with the 2-pronged the
gadget.
fork. Yes.
Yeah, because what they said when she presented the fork is that how dare you offend God in such a way?
Absolutely.
He has given us these things. These are the original forks.
Yes.
And yet you have the audacity. They said that they called her so vain that she would use this thing in order to help herself
put food in her mouth.
But you have,
also ostentatious. But then funny enough, in 1693, I think King George I of England marries this lady. She's called Catherine Medici, and she's from the Medici family. And it's
remember that we did talk about the Medici family when we did the book Machiavelli. He wrote that book as an application letter to the Medici family.
Absolutely, and he says now the use of forks has been declared to be decent, not because it had utility in the sense that you would not get germs from eating, but because I think he married a royal, the Italians that came up with the fork said, "Sawa, let's introduce it into mainstream eating delicacy."
But we also have to say that around that time, remember, people never used to eat the way we eat.
Yes.
And we always assume that everyone has always eaten the way we've eaten.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But before, they used to eat in bread, and they call them trenchers.
Yes.
So you'd put the bread,
Yeah.
and then you'd put your soup on
Yes.
it, and then now the bread would soak in the soup.
Yes.
So all you needed really was a spoon to
Absolutely.
be able to eat with it.
Yes.
And a fork was
Yeah.
a very weird object, and
Yeah.
they didn't understand its utility and how it would be helpful as
Absolutely.
you ate that way.
Yeah.
But as we started changing and
Yes.
stopped eating in bread,
Absolutely.
started eating in wooden plates, and
Yeah.
it actually opened up a flat plate.
Yes.
It became easier
Yeah.
for you to eat with a fork
Yes.
and a knife,
And the knife.
the way we understand it today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's quite interesting if you compare it with the light bulb and
Yeah.
the electricity grid.
Yeah.
The introduction of one new thing
Yeah.
meant that something else had to be created. So what you're talking about with the trenches,
Yeah.
the plate that we understand today did not exist because
it
they
didn't.
ate out of a bread bowl.
Yeah.
So that meant that people had to discover and create this new plate for people to eat with.
Yeah.
In the same way that with the light bulb, the
Yeah.
electricity grid did not exist.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Edison thereafter had to go and create it. And I feel like it's interesting how
Yeah.
the utility of one thing
Yeah.
then leads to the creation of a new invention that's going to help.
And that actually is the
Yeah.
question that we've been trying to answer.
Yeah.
How does something go from an oddity, something that you find is strange and you laugh at,
Yeah.
to something that you cannot live without,
Absolutely.
something that you just have to live with, something that is ubiquitous
Yeah.
and a necessity?
Yeah.
And the thing is this, what they say is that there's a balance that has to be met.
Yes.
So this balance is it's a calculation
Yeah.
of that you make individually
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
how useful is this item,
Absolutely.
how useful is it to me,
Yeah.
how much do I need it,
Yeah.
versus how much embarrassment does it give me outside.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So you make this way
Yeah.
between how embarrassed will I be
Oh,
versus how much do I need it to
yes.
decide whether you use it.
Absolutely.
And one thing that was like that is an umbrella.
Yes.
So an umbrella, a long time ago, people would use it
Yeah.
to know who was poor.
Yes.
Because you didn't have enough money to have a carriage.
To hail a carriage,
Right?
yeah.
If you can't hail a carriage, or you
Yes.
don't own one in your family,
Yeah.
then you'd use an umbrella to cover you from the rain.
Yeah.
But
And you
some
would
people,
rather
some people were so embarrassed about knowing that the public would know that they were poor that they would rather
Be rained
walk
on.
in the rain
Yeah.
than let the public know that I cannot afford a carriage.
Absolutely.
However,
Yeah.
in London,
Yeah.
it rained so much
Yeah.
that you were okay being embarrassed because you would always be wet.
Yes.
Therefore,
Yeah.
the utility, how much I need it,
Yeah.
how
Outweighed.
useful it is to me,
Yes.
outweighed
Yeah.
the embarrassment that I felt that people would think I'm poor. They'd be like, you know what, even if
Absolutely.
I'm rich,
Yeah.
I need to get somewhere, I don't want to be wet.
Yes.
But there's also another thing.
Yeah.
And I think I'll take us back to something that we did in the past. It's
Yeah.
called the diffusion of innovation.
Yes.
curve.
Yes.
And that tells you how an innovation goes from something that we absolutely don't know
Yeah.
to something that we all use.
Yeah.
And there's a curve that we always put up, and it shows how an innovation is taken.
Yeah.
Yes.
First, you have the innovators,
Yes.
the people who take it first, the techies, the people who are willing to endure the shame
Yeah.
just to see if this thing is worth it.
Like
Yes.
Maria Gonzana with the fork in
Yes.
15 and 10
And she's
or 4.
only 2.5% of the population.
Yeah.
But then again, now you have the next set of people, the visionaries,
Yes.
who we would call the influencers.
Yeah.
And that takes up about 13.5% of the population.
Yeah.
And with both of these, you needed influencers to push it.
Oh, yes.
You needed the Frenchman, Antoine, to be able to have parties and invite
Yes.
Benjamin Franklin and show you how
Absolutely.
good it was so that you would take it.
Yeah.
You needed Catherine de Medici to
Yes.
bring the fork from Italy
Yes.
so we could be able to see it and
Yeah.
say, you know what?
Yeah.
Sitting with
I
a
like
fork
this,
and
yeah.
a knife and
Yes.
eating with a plate is
Yes.
actually good society.
Absolutely.
And then finally,
Yeah.
you need to be able to have the invention work in the context in which it is there.
Yes.
So for the potato, we needed to invent chips,
Yeah.
masala sticks,
Yes.
oil generally, to
Yes.
put it in so that we could discover how yummy it was.
Yeah.
And for the fork, we needed the plate
Yes.
Yeah.
to be able to cut it on
Yes.
and hold our food with the fork
Absolutely.
and change the shape of the fork.
Yes.
And go from 2 prongs
Yeah.
to 4,
To 4.
Yes.
as we know it today.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I just had a thought as you're talking. You see, potatoes were not liked, and so were forks, and so is bangi now. So because they
Really?
all needed,
That leap.
yeah. So because they all needed influencers, then let's have. The
Are you
Pope-
declaring yourself?
Yeah, no, let's have the Pope smoke a bit of bangi,
Oh,
and then
wow.
we can legalize it.
On that note, this is Winning Headlines. We had a winning headline from the Daily Nation and a winning cartoon from Ozone of the Star. Have a great day and see you tomorrow.